I wanted to show you how I keep track of everything. I usually just wrote this all in the notebook, but I made forms for this year, and I thought maybe some of you would like to, if you'd like to use these, let me know, and I'll email them to you or get them to you somehow. So here is milk and egg records, and it's just going by each month, January, February, March, all the way down. And you'll write down how much milk and how much eggs you get per day, and then they total at the bottom. And like you know, for the milking, March 13th was the last day we milked them, when we let them dry up before the babies was born. So you'll see just lines here because we didn't milk them these months. But then there's another page where you can write your totals for each month and then get your yearly total at the bottom. Then you can figure out your value. Say you got 300 gallons of milk for the year, and goat milk sells in your area for $6 a gallon, then you would write the value there. Same thing for eggs. How many dozens of eggs and what the value is. These are feed costs, where you just keep track of all the feed you're going through, and then I total each page up. You get to the end here, you'll have more of these pages than anything. Profit and expenses. Just, you know, whatever you spent money on, whatever you made money on. Birthing records and additions. This keeps track of every animal that was added to or born on the homestead. And see, I put the calf there, Rosie. She was born on September 4th, or August 30th. We got her on September 4th. So this is easy to keep track of, like rabbits or hens that hatched. How many you're getting from them every year. And the same thing with your goats and anything. Then you'll know, you know, if you got a goat that's throwing singles every year. If you get a lot of animals, you're not going to remember all this. And especially, you know, if you have more than one rabbit. At the end of the year, you're not going to remember how many births you had, and whether or not, you know, she's even doing a good job for you. Meat records, the date, how many was butchered, what the total weight was. And I put USDA here, but like you can't find a USDA total for rabbits. So I go by what they sell per pound in my area. They sell for $5 a pound. Chickens, I think this was a USDA, $3.25 a pound for a whole chicken. Now all these values are gonna, you're gonna want to do those at the end. This was garden yields. I put how much I spent on seeds for each vegetable and what the total yield was. Now I have a notebook that's full of little, you know, 2 pounds, 10 ounces, 5 pounds, 6 ounces, all this. But I only write the totals once it's all the way done on this page. And then you'll have your total cost, total pounds you got. And then here you take your total pounds and what the USDA price per pound was, and total it up so you know what value your garden produced. You'll know how many pounds it produced and what value it produced. I use this scale. It's just that it needs cleaned off because it sits on the counter. But I use this scale. It measures in pounds and ounces. And you can zero it out. So you can set a bowl on it and then push it on. And then set your vegetables or whatever in. And it'll give you a weight. I also put fruit records here with the same thing. But we don't really have any fruit trees or anything yet. It's one of the things every year we want to add, and it just doesn't go. I did get a blackberry and grape this year. but that's just going to be expense. Canning totals to see what you're producing every year in terms of quart jars. The item, how many quints, pints, or jelly jars. And this I do on a sheet of notebook paper too, and then just write the totals. And then you can total it up down here, see how many quarts of food you put up. These two are year-end totals. You'll put your year-end total for milk, eggs, and I have the meat that we butcher every year or have butchered in pounds, and I left some blank spaces there because different people raise different animals. The garden and fruit pounds total cost, and then your profit and expenses page, which I have one and it's not in this pile. I must have left it in the computer desk. You'll write your total profit, total expenses, and your total feed cost. And this is how you figure out what you made. If you were ahead for the year or behind, you'll add up the total of all values of your meat, eggs, milk, and the fruit and garden yields. That's just the value of them, what you got. You're going to add this to your profit. Your profit and expenses page is every time you sold a rabbit or a dozen eggs, or you sold babies at the auction or anything like that. And then your expenses would be expenses other than feed. If there was building expenses or medication, stuff like that. So you're going to add those two together. Then you're going to add your expenses and feed costs together. And you're going to minus this, minus the last box from this. And that's going to tell you if you were ahead or behind. And I believe last year we were like $600 ahead. All of the value of everything we got and the profit was $600 more than the expenses that were paid out. And this is an itemized yearly totals page. Let's see if you can see it. This is how I figure out if a certain animal or a certain thing is profitable. Every year I put two examples here for goats. Say it cost me $800 to feed them and $90 for soap making supplies. I got $550, and this is, I just put numbers, whatever numbers here, this isn't mine. Say you get $550 for selling the kids, $240 for selling soap. The consumed here is the value of the milk. So however many gallons of milk you got for the year, times whatever the value of that milk is. Okay. If you butcher goats, say you got $600 worth of meat. So your total is going to be your profit. That's profit and consumed minus your cost. So for the goat total for 2,300, I added 1,800, 600, 550, and 240, and I minus the costs. The $800 for feed, the $90 for soap. So you see a plus sign there. We're $2,300 ahead on goats, which means that we got that much more, over $2,000 more of products and sales than what we put into them. Second example I gave here is for the garden. Say $23.40 for seed. Say you sold some plants, you sold some tomato plants, made $45. Your total garden, that page where I showed you where you go through and figure out the value. Say you got $298 in plants from your garden. So you're going to add the profit and what was consumed minus the cost. So add 45 and 298 minus the 2340 you spent in seed. Your garden was $320 ahead for the year. So I hope this makes sense. It can be a real blessing to sit down at the end of the year and see that you're producing. If you don't write this stuff down, you don't keep track of it, you're going to have no idea. You know, you may have where your chickens just aren't really, they're just costing you money every year, and you're not going to know that unless you mark this all down. Or maybe you're thinking, you know, you might be thinking the goats are just money burners because of all the hay and feed and everything, the expensive feed for milk does, and you're thinking we need to get rid of them because they're not really making a profit. But then you sit down at the end of the year and see that you're actually $2,000 ahead on the goats. So if anybody would like to have this for next year, just let me know and I'll email the forms to you. There's no dates written on them, so you can print them out every year. And that's it. Or maybe you'd like to, you know, do your own little type of ledger to see what you're making. You can use just a plain notebook. That's what I used for several years. I just, you know, listed each page and kept track of everything. But this is a lot easier because it's all together. You're not going to have a feed page in the beginning of the book and then you got to flip through to find the second and then flip through to find the third. This is a lot better. And at the end of the year, Staples will bind these little books for $2 or $3, you know. So once this is all filled out and done, you can take it and have it bound and, you know, file it away somewhere, and then you'll be able to see every year, you know, what you're doing and what you need to improve on. And, you know, especially for gardening or certain types of chickens, see which ones lay more eggs, see which ones are more likely to hatch out chickens. You know, for the garden, what vegetables grow better in your soil. You know, what are you getting the most amount for? So it's good to keep them as the years go on to compare to previous years. So that's it. Thanks for watching.